First, the date that we're recording this is May 26th, 2021. So people will have some relationship as to when we did this. And so probably one of the first things I would say, well, no, okay. I'll start with where I came from and where I am, and then what advice I would give.
Sure.
So where I came from was a situation when I was very young. I was a latchkey kid. So I was dependent primarily on myself for my survival. And unfortunately, what that did later in life is give me the idea that I wouldn't be able to turn to anyone else and ask for help. And that's not the formula for success. I figured, hey, if my parents aren't there to take care of me, no one else will be. Don't bother asking for help. Well, when you're 40 years of age, it doesn't make sense to have the attitudes of a 5 or 6 year old child running the show. So I started breaking up that conversation, became willing to ask for help, and life transformed. A good example of that is that I struggle with money most of my life, but I don't have to work for a living anymore. Haven't had to for quite a long time, because in my 50s, I recognized that if I pay myself first, so this is one of the first pieces of advice I would give to young people, is that whatever money you're earning, wherever it's coming from, you take a percentage of it, let's say 10%, you set it aside as your money to keep for the rest of your life. It's your money to hold on to as though you deserve to keep some of the money you're earning. You don't pay your rent with it. You don't buy a car with it. You don't pay for groceries or meals out. You keep it so that you have money to invest, so that you can create an income whether you're working or not. So the first piece of advice would be pay yourself first, treat yourself like you matter. That's what I started for the third time at age 50. And I was able to buy a small piece of real estate. And this is the second piece of advice. Excuse me, I'm going to cough.
No worries.
And that is, it doesn't matter if it's business growth. It doesn't matter if it's wealth creation. It doesn't matter if it's enhancing your relationship. It's a team sport, not a solo sport. So at age 50, I realized that wealthy people didn't do things by themselves. And with my wife and a realtor, we started buying multi-unit residential real estate properties. And I only had $18,000 to do it. So I needed money from my wife and this realtor to buy stuff. So the three of us as a team purchased properties. And at age 50, when I was broke and I'm saving $500 a month from the money I'm earning, that $18,000 I saved up over 3 years is what I was able to use toward the down payment of the real estate. But in the next 5 years, we went from that 3-unit property to owning and managing 50 units.
Wow.
And so I literally went from broke at age 50 to wealthy at 58 and no longer had to work for a living. So the most important things are wealth creation's a team sport, and pay yourself first like you matter. So that's the advice I would give to a 17-year-old. Now, there's a lot of other things, like how you learn about the way businesses work, how you reach out to people, how you create relationships, how you thank people for supporting you, where you learn what you need to learn, depending on the kind of business you're going to be going into. Robert Kiyosaki's advice about you take a job based on what you'll learn, not what you'll be paid, are all important factors.
Definitely.
So yeah. What have some other people told you?
I've learned a lot of great things. One gentleman talked a little bit about emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
So being kind of aware of your emotions and how you react to things and how you interact with people is really important, especially in building relationships. And then definitely managing income is a really important thing that a lot of decent amount of people have talked about. People get really scared that, oh, I have to save up like so much money before I can start investing. When that's not the case. You can start off small. You start it now. Starting younger, starting earlier is better.
Exactly.
Definitely allowed to go for it. Don't be scared of failure, because failure is kind of just a learning curve, and it doesn't have to be a negative thing that you experience. It can be a little bit hard, but knowing that it's an experience that'll help you along the way. So I think those are some of the greatest pieces of advice that come to mind that I've talked to people about.
Oh, yeah. And so you've gotten some fabulous input, and yeah, uh, one of the things that I notice a lot of people who are older feel they need to like pay off credit card debt before they
Mm-hmm.
begin saving or investing,
Mm-hmm.
which I found to be the worst thing they could do.
Yeah.
Because, getting back to what I said about being age 50 and broke, I had credit card debt. I didn't even have good credit score. If I'd have focused on paying off the debt,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have had the 18,000 I needed to invest in the real estate.
Yeah.
And now the real estate pays off the credit cards in full every month, regardless of what I charge.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, yeah, so you're right. Start investing early. You can do it with as little as $10. You can buy
Mm-hmm.
individual stocks. If you want to do a mutual fund, all you need is $250.
Mm-hmm.
And if you learn how to be powerful in business, and that could be a better return than investing in other people's businesses, like buying stocks.
Yeah.
I'll give
Yeah.
you a good example. Someone I was talking to was saying he wanted to invest in stocks,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but he was doing advertising that for every dollar he spent in advertising, he would get $2 to $3 in profit from the people who would buy what he was selling from his advertising. And he was doing this every month.
Mm-hmm.
So for, let's say, every dollar he spent, he got $2. That's 100% return in 1 month. So that's 100% per month, every month.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about wanting to get a 10 or 12% return per year by investing in other people's businesses.
Mm.
It makes more sense for him to continue doing what he's doing in his own business.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for sharing. You brought up so many great points. I think those are something that every 17-year-old kind of needs to hear. I think there's a lot of things that we know subconsciously, but it's better to hear it from other people who are obviously where we want to be. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that works. I should keep doing that. It'll help me. It'll be where I want to be.
You're absolutely right. And I applaud you for
Yeah.
taking this on, for doing the interviews, for putting yourself out there, and for supporting other people your same age.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing a few of your wisdoms with me. It's really helpful, and I really appreciate it. And it was such an awesome call, and I definitely learned a lot. So I really thank you.
You're welcome, Ushkan.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and have a great day.
You too. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.